We got the amazing Marc Silvestri, come on up. You won a jet ski. We got the writer of Deadpool, Gerry Duggan, come on up, Gerry. We have, all the way from Canada, you might know him from his Batman, David Finch, everybody. Thank you for coming last minute, David. And we have one of the greatest artists right now, and he's been like that for a while. We have Jusko. Everyone give it up for Joe. And it looks like we're missing a chair.
You know what? We're going to Springsteen it. We're going to share a mic and a chair.
Okay, because I need one more chair, you guys.
Look at this. We summoned a chair.
There we go. No, you get back up here. Okay, so this guy needs no introduction. Could you guess who it is? Louder! 3 times and then he'll appear in the mirror. One more time. Come on, Stan.
Thank you. Boy, am I in illustrious company. Look at this. All right, I did a lot of talking today. I'm going to sit back and enjoy what they have to say. Go to it, guys.
Yeah, like you guys want to hear us. Stan, come on, start talking.
Come on, Stan, start us off. Silvestri and I have done so many panels, we've run out of conversation. Actually, I only come to join him when his wife is along, because as funny looking as he is, she is the opposite. She's gorgeous. But today we're stuck with him, so lucky we got these guys. Hey, you guys, you don't get up here as often as we do. Tell about yourself. Go on.
All right. Well, I started Marvel back in 1978, right out of high school. And I got a story for you that I'm sure that you would never remember. But I sold my first cover to Marvel. I did a storyline cover for Marvel when I was 18. I started as Howard Chaykin's assistant, and he sent me up to Marvel to get some cover work with these 3 sample paintings I had. And they gave me a storyline cover, which was awful because I had no idea what I was doing. This is still on 57th Street when you were still in the offices up there.
I was still working then.
Right. And so they gave me another cover, I did a Hulk cover, and then they gave me another Star-Lord cover. And I did this big, ambitious Star-Lord piece of him standing there with a girl at his feet and the planets exploding behind him and everything. And I was really proud of this painting. I handed this painting in, and about 3 months later, the book came out, and it had an Earl Norm cover on it of the exact same scene. And so I walked up to the editor, Rick Marshall was the editor at the time, and I said, Rick, what happened to my cover? And he said to me, Stan hated it and gave it to Earl Norm. So I had one cover killed in my entire career, and you killed it. I was 18 years old. I thought my career was over.
So years later, I got to apologize.
No, you were absolutely right.
I also have a list of grievances, yeah. You hated my art too. I can't draw.
Stan, this isn't a panel, this is an intervention.
Yeah.
These guys, they haven't confessed. They pay a lot of money into a fund to keep me from drawing because they know I show them all up.
This is going to be as ugly as the last debate, I think. Oh man, should I hover behind Stan?
Yeah. Glaring.
David, what's your first Stan story? Okay, everybody has their first Stan story when Stan had either told a story or an issue that really touched their life. What was yours?
Well, for me, the first comic really that I ever read was the Phoenix Saga with John Byrne and Chris Claremont, and I remember everything said, presented by Stan Lee, and I didn't know who that was, So, but that was all of the first stuff that I read was, X Factor and drawing a blank.
No, all that stuff, the Fall of the Mutants.
Yeah, it was all the old Marvel
the stuff that Marc over here drew. So.
That's right. And Marc's and then I started reading, the bulletin in the back, and so he's a legend. He created, the entire Marvel universe.
The bullpen bulletins pages when we were kids were the greatest things in the world. I used to read those before I read the comic book.
Yeah.
Right? It was like your insider knowledge and view of what happened in Marvel Comics. I so love those things. And Stan's soapbox. It was great.
How about you, Gerry? You're writing Deadpool now. You write a few Marvel titles. What was your first Stan story?
You know, I grew up reading Marvel comics. My old man was a commuter. He would come out of New York with a paper for himself on the train, and he would pick me up a comic book from the spinner rack if I was good. And so I grew up on Spider-Man and Hulk, and so to be able to play in that same sandbox that Stan created is still this dream come true that hasn't ended yet. I keep trying to get fired, but they won't fire me. So yeah, I'm having fun with Deadpool, but to get a crack at Hulk really sort of took my breath away. And every time, you know, I get to type into a script thwip, you know, or something like that, I still just sort of sit back and go, I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
And Mark, one of my earliest Marvel memories, like David's, is it is that Wolverine cover of him like stretched across the X that you drew, and it's one of my favorite covers. But you have your own Stan stories as well, like your first, the Touch of Marvel Comics. Do you remember that moment?
Yeah, you know, I met Stan when he was hitting on my wife, and you know, I
Stan has wonderful taste.
You know, I just kind of came up behind him and say, "Hey, dude, who are you?" And he turns around and says, "Hey, I'm Stan Lee." And say, "What the hell did you do?" So it's like he went on for about an hour explaining how he like basically godfathered the modern comics. And I was like, okay, I bought into it. Just stay away from my wife. But Stan, when did we meet? Like years ago. We've met several times. The first few times it was always about, hey, good to meet you. And you know, it's like, Stan, we've met like 3 times already. But I think it was at one of the shows, it might have been San Diego years and years and years ago that we met. But like everybody up here, and like all of you guys, I mean, Stan's the man. You know, he's the man for a reason. And he's the guy that was our champion in Hollywood for decades when nobody else cared.
Right.
You know, nobody outside of this room, nobody outside of Compos cared about comics. And he was the guy that went pitching ideas to Hollywood. He was the comic book guy that, you know, had to fight for respect and basically paved the way for all of us. There's a reason why there's a Deadpool movie today.
Yeah.
And it's because of Stan. You know, there's a reason for that.
I don't like guys who talk better than I do.
No, think about what this culture looks like without Mr. Lee. I mean,
It doesn't exist.
This culture does not exist.
Or they'd probably be sitting here watching some sexy-looking dancers or something instead. Hey, incidentally, have you tried looking at yourself on the screen behind you? It's much more fun. It's wonderful. They're lucky.
Look at that giant Easter Island head of mine.
But if I can get away from the subject at hand, which I don't know what it is.
It's
but
you.
1 minute. I have a crusade that I'm going on, and I want to enlist your help. And this is very important. I want all your help too. It's one of the most important issues in the world today, and it's the word comic books. People, when they write the word comic book in the newspapers, they'll say, so-and-so is a comic book artist. And they write C-O-M-I-C space B-O-O-K. They make it 2 words. Now I want you to watch for that all the time. If you see anybody writing comic book as 2 words, you report them to me or call the police. Because comic book means a funny book. But if you make it 1 word, C-O-M-I-C-B-O-O-K, then it's its own particular type of literature. It's a comic book. So remember that. This is an important drive, and I'm glad you came, because if you hadn't been here today, you would have missed what was probably really the most meaningful thing anybody has said today, which I tend to do all the time.
Well,
Comic book, it's 1 word.
Like Spider-Man.
Don't let me catch any of them.
Spider-Man. Yeah. That's 1 word, right? Spider-Man.
oh,
1 word?
dude,
Those are the
that's
fights.
hyphenated.
Those are the hyphen fight.
What about Punisher?
I'm not touching that
is
one.
true, because the one thing you did is you didn't write funny books. When I was growing up, I was a Marvel
I have
kid.
no sense of humor.
That's not true.
I was a Marvel fan because Marvel comics were written on a higher level than anything else that was put out there at that time. And I was 8, 9, 10 years old when you were writing The Silver Surfer, and it's still my favorite comic run of all time.
When I was writing Silver Surfer, you were 8 years old. Do you know how that makes me feel? Here's a guy who looks like he's 90.
I like how Stan just
You
finished.
push people, what can I tell you?
He's not funny, and then he's roasting us. One of the nicest, funniest guys you can meet.
This is not an intervention. This is a roast. We just keep moving it.
The microphones are muffled in my ears. You know the reason I'm so nice to you? You're the only guy I know what you're saying. I can't tell what the other guys are saying. I don't hear that well. It's all muffled. Luckily, I don't hear Marc Silvestri, because he's never got anything to say anyway.
That's why we're still friends.
Guys, we are, I mean, Stan brings up a good point. We are still writing books, but now comics are competing with things like video games and the movies that are inspired by the comic books. Kids picking up comics, is that something that you guys are concerned about, maybe is declining? Stan, are you concerned that maybe kids aren't picking up comics I'm talking about literacy, I'm talking about education. Are you concerned by this? The trend towards video games or movies?
You know what? I'm going to jump in, and you can let Stan know. Did you hear the question, Stan? Here's the thing. To that point, I give out comic books on Halloween, and the first year I was worried I was going to get egged because I was like, I don't have chocolate if this goes wrong. But the kids went crazy. I mean, I ended up going in and I gave away 3 long boxes of books that I had bought, and so there is this hunger. You know, I think part of the problem for me is that comics as an impulse buy, you know, you can't get them off the rack anymore at like a Five and Dime or a Ralph's or what have you, but when that comic lands in a kid's hand, the eyes light up. I mean, there is a real hunger for that. And I my son is 7. He reads comics, and it has now been a gateway to other things that he loves reading out of it. So that's my experience, is that the kids want to read comics.
Marc, you have an imprint. Do you guys feel a responsibility to bring in younger readers and kind of replenish the audience?
Well, I think, like, I'm one of those guys that goes, you know what? Thank you for the movies and thank you for the TV shows. I know that there's purists out there that go, yeah, they took away our comic books, they took away our culture. From a publisher's perspective, and I've been in this business since 1981, right? That's before many of your parents were even born. And I've seen it all, right? The entire roller coaster of publishing, of comics. And I truly believe that we have comic books today because movies like Iron Man happened. I often say that Robert Downey Jr. saved comic books. And I don't mean that really as a joke at all, because Marvel had so much in the basket riding on Iron Man, and they had to prove that you could be successful without being Batman and without being Superman. And it worked. And it worked primarily because of Robert Downey Jr. and the costume was awesome. And that kind of snowballed into this whole pop culture thing where now everything can be part of another media. And there's just been resurgence in comics that we were all really worried about 15 years ago, that there would be comic books. And now we see again families, we see kids that were gone from conventions for years. And now it's amazing. So thank you everyone for being here and supporting comic books.
David, how do you feel on the subject of younger kids picking up comics? Is there like a resurgence going on?
Well, tough for me to say, but I will say that there's really nothing like a comic book. I mean, I love all the movies. I watch every single movie, the badly reviewed ones, it doesn't matter. I'm a huge fan of everything, the TV shows. But, a comic is just something special. It's not like a book, it's its own form of storytelling, and, you get so much personality and character from each individual artist. And, hope that they continue on for a long, long time, and definitely I think that the movies are keeping us relevant.
It was a booster rocket, you know, it was for us that like happened at just the right time. When I was going to conventions in the 80s, the comic books were in the corner at Star Trek conventions. It's a much different world.
I just go to the movies to see Stan's cameos. That's really.
I enjoyed the one in Doctor Strange coming up too. There's another fun one there. Spoiler.
Hey, did I tell you about my cameos? I don't know if I've told you this, but the reason Marvel's movies do so well and make so much money is because of my cameos, and here's why. Let's say he and I are in the movie together. We're watching Iron Man, and we're eating popcorn, and all of a sudden he drops his popcorn. So we both reach down to get the bag of popcorn, and at that minute, my cameo was on the screen and we missed it. Now the movie ends, and he turns to me and he says, "We missed Stan's cameo." And I say, "Well, we can't do that, so what do? We go back to the box office and buy 2 more tickets." So people missing my cameos are making Marvel rich, and I hope they appreciate it.
Do you guys feel a responsibility whenever you either pick up a pen or sit at your typewriter? Do you guys feel a responsibility?
Is this a typewriter?
You're Woody Allen now. Now you're Woody Allen. Do you guys feel a responsibility to uphold some of the work that some of the work that Stan has established? Do you guys ever think about that?
I'll jump in as a writer. I tried to draw. I was not talented enough to draw, so I ended up writing. I do feel like I'm a custodian for these characters. I know that I'm enjoying my time with them now, and I will pass the baton to someone who will go in a new direction, and I love that. I don't think I've killed a character that I didn't create. I don't want to be that guy, and I haven't undone anyone else's story. So I feel
But
like
you're writing Deadpool, so do it.
yeah, now I can do it. And it's been a great joy to play in the Marvel Universe, and it's one of our longest ongoing stories, right? At the moment. I mean,
And here's the thing about Stan's legacy that I think all writers today kind of follow, and Stan was one of the pioneers of the character-driven superhero. And giving Peter Parker that angst and giving him that teenage feel in the real world, and think we all have to kind of follow that now, and it's a good thing. A lot of comic books today, a lot of the writers, they're more character oriented, more so than even plot oriented. The character drives the plot, and I think that's a wonderful thing. I think that's part of Stan's legacy.
Well, you talk about you brought Spider-Man and the Peter Parker storyline. I remember when I was a kid, I had a full run of Spider-Man from 1 through whatever it was up to at the time, 100, 110. And I was homesick from school one day, and I decided to read through all the Spider-Man comics, but only the Peter Parker stuff. None of the Spider-Man stuff. And it was like watching a soap opera. It was so well written and so interesting that the Peter Parker storyline itself was really just as fascinating as all the Spider-Man stuff. And I never realized that until I did that one day, just on a lark, and it was fascinating. It really was. It really held that book together.
I didn't know that this panel would be talking about how great I am. I would have been earlier. I would have insisted the panel lasts longer. This is the best panel I've ever heard. I just wish I could understand what the other ones were saying. You've been translating it.
he's not missing much, right? I mean.
By the way, I don't think we're seeing the end of comic books. Forget video games and all those things. There's something about a comic book. You buy it, it's not expensive. You read it, you kind of fold it over, you put it in your back pocket. You carry it with you. You share it with a friend. You have it autographed by somebody, and you figure 1,000 years from now it'll be worth money. There is so much you can do with a comic book, and you can save them, and it's like no other type of reading material in the world. It's handy, it's convenient, and it's got pictures and words. Now, to show you what a name dropper I am, I was with Steven Spielberg about 10 years ago, and he said to me, "You know, Stan, you do pretty much what I do, except my pictures move." And I thought that was a very interesting remark, because essentially, aside from the fact that our pictures don't move, we're doing Broadway shows, we're doing Shakespeare plays. We have the actors whom you look at in the drawings. We have the dialogue, which is the script. These could be great plays. We call them comic books, but it's a type of literature. And I think that we could all be proud that we're in that field. Or at least I used to be in that field. I don't know what the hell I'm doing now.
Just being amazing, that's all.
For me, it's the collaboration. It's getting to work with more talented people than me. I love collaborating on comics. I love writing a script, seeing the art come back, and then rewriting the balloons and the cat boxes after it, because I have to, you know, there's a face there, or there's something there I didn't see. So for me, that's the magic of it, is that collaboration.
Well, you guys are all legends, and one day, maybe you guys start your own conventions?
Yeah, sure.
And
see this crowd right here? There'll be like those 3 people.
See you at the pub.
We've been giving the wrap-up sign, but I want to just have this audience thank you guys for all the work you guys have done in bringing these characters to life. That's for you guys.
Thank you.
As legends of comics. What are you guys working on now that you guys can promote real quickly?
Secret project that's been going on forever, but hopefully it will be announced a little bit after Christmas, but it's personally a bucket list project for me. Lots of stuff with Top Cow going on. We have some major announcements coming up. Keep your eyes and ears open for that. And just enjoying what the hell I do for a living.
I have Deadpool and Uncanny Avengers for Marvel. I have a couple of creator-owned things in the hopper, and I'm directing Deadpool 2.
I'm drawing Batman right now for DC Comics with Tom King, a phenomenal writer. Thank you. And that's all I got. Yeah.
That's enough, though. That's pretty great. Yeah, that's wonderful.
I just finished 135 new paintings for a new Marvel Masterpiece set as a follow-up to the one I did back in 1992. It came out earlier this year. I'm doing various covers for different companies at the moment, and as Marc said, just really loving what I do. I could be 12 for the rest of my life, and I can't think of a better job in the world.
Great. That's just great.
Stan, what have you been up to?
I go to panels. I'm trying to make this. I want this to be the biggest comic book convention and entertainment convention in the world. And I think we're off to a great start. We've got the greatest audience here now. We certainly have the greatest guests. And if we just keep it up, Los Angeles is the center of the world's entertainment. And we're the ones who should have the biggest and the best convention, and we're doing our best to do that.
I'll be here next year for sure.
I'll be here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Well, thank you, sir. Thanks, guys.
That's it. Oh, we forgot. Excelsior!